Hello, everyone. This is Daymi Pelaez. I am the host for today's Zoom meeting. I am going to share my screen. Today's meeting is on Section K of the BCBA 4th Edition Task List, Implementation, Management, and Supervision. I'm going to go over the disclaimer really quick. Okay. The BCBA Exam Prep Study Group was created by and for students to earn their BCBA, BCABA certification. Most of the leaders and participants are not a BCBA or BCABA at this time. These meetings are meant to have active discussions to collaborate, ask questions, and provide helpful suggestions to better understand the BACB 4th Edition Task List concepts. Due to this, it is important to know that all viewers and participants are responsible to verify the accuracy of the information being provided in order to successfully prepare for the BCBA, BCABA exam. All right. Ethical considerations refrain is part of the AB ethical code, and we need to refrain from sharing any BCBA, BCABA test exam questions. Refrain also from sharing any paid resources or any client identifiable information. And if we're going to be sharing anything from any open resources like peer-reviewed articles, books, or anything else, please make sure to give credit to the author. In this group, we decided to create some rules just because, you know, in the ABA, we do need to act in a professional and ethical manner. And because of this, we made 4 easy, simple rules to make sure that the meetings go smoothly. Number 1 is make sure to mute your microphones if you are not speaking, and this will allow us to have a clear conversation. Number 2, allow the leader and all participants to turn to speak without interruptions. Number 3, make sure to be respectful to others and refrain from using any inappropriate language throughout the entire meeting time. And number 4 is always remember to have fun. All right, announcements. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, as you've always heard. We now have 104 subscribers, which is awesome. Guys, it's gone up like 30 in 1 week, which is great. Wonderful. And also remember to email us at bcbaexamprepgroup@gmail.com if you're interested in one-to-one free sessions to coordinate to make an appointment with us, or even if you guys have any specific questions, you know, if we're having conversations back and forth, anything like that, the more we do that, the more we learn. So it's beneficial for us as well as you guys. All right, so this is Section K broken down. I basically made simple questions to the point. I'm not trying to trick anyone. I just want to make sure you guys know it. And if you don't know it, then I'll just show you the answer. But, and I'm not picking on anyone today because these are hard questions. So on K1, the first question is, when is a BCBA able to release confidential information about a client without gathering consent?
When the client is in a harmful situation, or there's a need by the law.
Oh, that's really good. I think that's most of what I put, if not everything. Does anybody else have anything else to add to that, or? Martin, you know your stuff.
Not really. I know a little bit, not that much.
Okay, so it's number 1, if a judge orders it, and number 2 is to protect the client or others from harm, which is exactly what he said. So if anybody wants to add anything else, just let me know now so I can add it, because maybe there's more. I can do that at this time. Or if anybody has any questions about this, or maybe nobody's ever heard of this, I don't know. I know the first time I heard of it, I was shocked because I was like, oh, I thought that we couldn't give out any information ever. But no, you have to in these 2 situations.
What do you mean to I mean, I understand why they say to protect the client or others from harm. who would make that decision? Because I thought the only person you could give the information to would be a judge if you get subpoenaed. But I never heard this second portion of it.
So if you're working with a client and the client is physically being abused in front of you, you can't stay quiet and walk away and go home and say, oh, my time is done. I'm not working with a client right now. So
you're a mandated reporter.
Right, you're a mandated reporter, exactly. So you need to mandate that. You need to make sure you tell your supervisor, and your supervisor, not your supervisor. At that time, you are a supervisor. I'm thinking about it like an RBT. But at that moment, you are a supervisor, so you need to make sure you either call DCF, call the police. There's many different ways you can inform someone about the situation.
Or if there's an emergency situation, that's another.
Right.
Go ahead, Martin. What did you say?
I just said if there's an emergency situation, you call 911 and you give all the information that's needed at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be general information, not anything confidential.
So even the name of the client can be confidential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that if you share that one, that is also confidentiality.
Yeah.
But that would fit on that to protect the client or others from harm.
Exactly.
That would be falling into the emergency part. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I've had times that I've gone out to playgrounds or to a supermarket, and let's say I'm in the same aisle as a parent, and obviously I'm with the child. Let's say I'm blocking them from grabbing a toy or something, and then someone all of a sudden comes up to me and says, "Hey, is that your son?" I can't tell them, "Oh no, I'm his therapist. I'm working with him." I can't tell him that. So I have to call the parent and make sure that they give the information if they want to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But I can't release all that information because that person asked me all of a sudden, "Oh, who are you? Why are you with it? Or is he your son? Or who is he to you? How are you guys related?" I can't release that. Okay. Is everybody good with KO1?
Yes.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. KO2, identify the contingencies governing the behavior of those responsible for carrying out behavior change procedures and design interventions accordingly. Okay, so what should you give your staff to better implement the intervention?
The tools that they need to implement for intervention.
Okay.
I will say modeling for the supervisor, to train them and model so they can have a better understanding.
Good job, guys. Wow. I thought I was going to confuse you because I said, what do you give? So Martin said tools, and I said, okay, but it's also training and support.
Training, support, and tools, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so number 1, training, number 2, support, and number 3, tools. So what I mean by support is not just teaching them, just, being their mentor, making sure that they feel supported by you. That's important because, if the BCBA is not making the RBT comfortable, then obviously they're going to go look for another case. They're going to look for another BCBA to work with because they don't feel supported.
How about positive feedbacks? That's part of support.
Okay, I'll write that down. Yeah. Yeah, so the way you give feedback is so important. Just making them feel that you're a team is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. KO3, design and use competency-based training for persons who are responsible for carrying out behavioral assessment and behavior change procedures. Okay. The first question is, when do you know that a trainee is competent? Or how do you know that a trainee is competent?
Well, you will look at your data. You would observe them directly and in a formal observation and evaluate how they're implementing the plan. Are they collecting the data accurately based on the behavior description?
Okay.
I don't know if that's what I can think of.
You see a
Okay, so
change in the behavior, in the target behavior of the client.
looking at the target behavior, is that what you said?
You see a change in the target behavior of the
A
client.
change. Okay.
Yeah.
Martin, you were trying to say something?
Well, I was just trying to make a joke. When you don't hear any complaints from the.
Yeah, right? Does anybody have anything else? All right.
No.
So when they demonstrate the proper skills, so in other words, when they're competent. So when you feel that they're working appropriately and implementing the behavior plan the right way, then that's when they're demonstrating whatever skill that you're teaching them the right way, then that's how you know if the trainee is competent. So, all right. What should you remember when performing a competency-based assessment? And if you guys want to review this, I found this in the ABA study group task list guide. If you guys go to the file section, you'll find the document that I used to create these questions. So you can look at that. Okay, so this question is like a specific tool that's used when performing a competency-based training.
Is that the steps of the competency-based training? I have that in my notes. List the steps of competency-based training, rationale for why the target skills are to be trained, provide this.
So what is it?
Provide a written description of the target behaviors, provide detailed vocal description of the instructions for the target behaviors, demonstrate or model the target skills, require supervisees to practice, rehearse each target skill, provide positive and corrective feedback to supervisees, repeat the previous steps until supervisees perform each target skill correctly, and assess the application and generalization skills to the new targets for the clients, the settings when appropriate.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So on this document, what it says are—
I'm reading it, that's why.
Yeah. You're reading it off the same guide that I was looking at?
Well, I took the notes from that, yeah.
I thought you're doing it out of your brain, from your brain, Nadia.
Sure.
No,
That's
she
like
thinks sometimes that she's saying it off her brain.
Yeah, I thought that fluent. Wow.
Yeah, okay.
No way.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so yeah, so it's basically what she said, but no, what I wrote was describe skills, write descriptions, demonstrate skills, observe performance, give feedback, and repeat proficiency. The reason I highlighted give feedback is because, and I don't know how many of you have gone through this, but feedback is so important. And I've had so many BCBAs, so many, that give either minimal feedback or no feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you supposed to learn if you don't get feedback? So, I mean, you can be a great RBT. You can be, but you're always going to learn something, no matter what, no matter how good you are.
Yeah.
You always have something to learn, always. So, I mean, I would always go up to them and be like, oh, did I do anything wrong? You know, is there anything I need to fix? Oh, no, you're doing a great job. That's not what I want to hear. I want
That's
you to
not behavior specific. Did you tell them that?
Right. Well, at that time, I didn't know any better. But now, you know, I always tell everyone, please give me feedback. I need, you know, details. Could I have done this any different? Can you model for me how, you know, how you got it done that I didn't do as well as you did? all of that. But
Well, just today, I was actually working with a trainee, soon to be RBT, and she, it was of age-wise, it was a very young client, so it wasn't too challenging of a situation. And we were doing DTT, and so just a little feedback. She looked at me, she ran some drills, kid got tokens, earned playtime, and she asked me, okay, what do you think? So just the little things that somebody tells you, well, the placement of your cards, maybe separate them so they can scan through them better. Just, counting, really what one of the drills was, is this just, are we doing error correction or what are we doing? Is she going to count it as one, trial or not? And those little things I think were very important. And she was like so relieved when she was given the feedback and saying, okay, I am on target or I'm not, I need to fix this. And it's that's how you learn, if somebody doesn't give you that specific feedback, you won't get better at it.
Right. Yeah. And also when you give feedback, you should give them like, I would say 2 to 3 things to work on per session, just because I've sometimes, when I first started like learning and going to mentoring meetings and all that, I would be like, oh, feedback, because that's what I wanted. I wanted feedback, so I'm going to give feedback. And there was this RBT that I felt bad for her because I was like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. And she was so overwhelmed. She was like, oh my God, I have like 10 things on my list that I have to do. And I felt like she wasn't learning. I felt like she wasn't learning anything. So afterwards, I spoke to my BCBA and she said, I love everything you're giving her, but give her one at a time, make sure she masters that, and then move on to the next one. So that's what I did. I started off with, she was using error correction, and I said, you know what, error correction is not working for this client, so let's try errorless learning instead. And just from that change, she saw huge improvement.
That's
Just
nice.
from that little change.
Mm-hmm.
So little small things, moving their environment around. I told her, instead of having him sit on the floor, maybe you should have him sit at the table, or vice versa. Let's move him to the carpet instead of sitting at the table. Things like that, and little things make a big difference. So, all right, let's move to K4. All right, K4 is design and use effective performance monitoring and reinforcement systems. Okay. What helps to monitor how the staff is implementing the procedure?
I will say, like, when the supervisor come and observe, at least my BCBA, she come and observe like maybe twice a week. And if she observe anything, she provide feedback and she make sure like she model, and then she let me perform to see if the procedure and if I know exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, that sounds good. This one is actually a type of monitoring system, and I've never heard of it myself, but if you guys can tell me about it, that would be great. It's called systematic performance monitoring.
It's in the past, the big ABA.
Mm-hmm.
They have mentioned about systematic performance monitoring in detail.
Okay.
So it's on page 261, if you want to look at it.
Yeah, I'm going to write it down here.
Thank you. I never hear about it.
Me neither. I just found it on there and I was like, I'm going to ask about it to see if anybody knows about it.
What I was just by chance on this page, and then that's what I give you that page number.
What page is it again? 290?
261.
Oh, 261. I'm going to look that up. Okay, and then the next question is very similar. It's, what should you only use when you have concerns about staff performance? So it's something very similar to this. It's So it's when you have concerns about staff performance.
So you're observing, you can observe it. What's the observation? What do you call that? It has a term for it.
It's called formal monitoring.
Formal monitoring.
All right. The next question is, what are the advantages to using momentary time sampling to when monitoring employee performance? I think we spoke about this in another meeting. I remember hearing it.
So it's when you don't have enough time, I think. That's one advantage.
Okay, well, that's one. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it's less intrusive.
There's three of them. There's three. Less intrusive, you said?
Yeah.
Meaning that you don't have to be constantly looking at them. You can just look at them when the timer starts.
Okay.
So the person feels less intimidated.
So you actually, it's funny because you said 2 in 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said 2 in 1. It's time efficient, which is what Martin said, and then it's flexible, which is intrusive, and then minimizes discomfort. So the staff doesn't feel they feel more comfortable if you use momentary time sampling than just observing them the whole time. All right. Next one, K05, design and use systems for monitoring procedural integrity. What should be used when staff are implementing major parts for an intervention?
Train them.
Well, it should be direct methods, which is observation. And indirect methods, which is self-reports, questionnaires, and behavior rating scale.
It's actually another monitoring type. Like the other ones that we talked about, formal and systematic. This is another one.
Permanent product.
Procedural integrity, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Procedural integrity monitoring.
Good job, Nadia. See, I'm telling you.
I'm looking at my nose, Mateen.
Doesn't matter, you found it.
Which means I have to go back and really, really study this.
Yeah, actually, this is why I put them on here, because I was like, oh my God, everything I'm reading, I don't understand. So I have to put this on here.
Mm-hmm.
What resource did you use again? Was it
It's called the ABA Study Group Task List Guide.
Oh my God, it's right there. Thank you.
Yeah, it's colorful and it's like a chart.
Okay. Thank
you. It's not the one with the questions that you use, Nadia. It's another one that's like broken up.
Is it the color one?
Yeah, the colorful one. Mm-hmm. All right. The next one is, can anyone define treatment integrity? Like, what is it in your own words?
I will say that is when the program is implemented appropriately according to the is when the program is implemented appropriately.
Appropriately according to what?
How it is written.
How it's written.
To the BCBA.
BTP.
How what is written? Because I'm just waiting for one word.
The plan.
The plan.
The plan. There you go.
The BTP. I've said two times BTP.
Oh, I didn't hear you, hon. Okay, so how well a treatment plan is followed according to how it is written. Perfect. Okay. K06, provide supervision for behavior change agents. When is evidence-based staff supervision best?
Whenever we are implementing a new procedure.
Okay, so I don't want you to get confused by my question. I'm asking like, when would the supervision best, I don't know how to ask it. Okay.
I will say, well, I think I understand. I don't know if I'm right, but I will say like when the supervisor is aware that he's gonna be supervised, like he's ready, like because most of the time, if he's not expecting that he's gonna be supervised, sometimes he can like get nervous. From my understood, I'm not sure.
That's reactivity, no?
But you mean more about,
Mhm.
you know, how he's carrying it
5%.
out? Is
I
that
would say all the time.
so? Yeah, when
There
it's
you go. That's what
consistent.
I'm looking for all the time. So when is it best done? When it's implemented consistently. Yeah. So if supervision is done once a month, which that's what honestly a lot of, you know, BCBAs do, 5%, I think honestly a supervisor should do 5% multiple times instead. Maybe they can do 2% here, 1% there, you know, another 1% somewhere else, you know, go like 4 or 5 times a month instead of going once a month and doing the 5% one day. Because that way they're implemented consistently instead of once a month. That's just the best way to do it. It's not the rules. The rules are just 5%, but the best way to have the evidence-based staff supervision is by implementing it consistently. All right. Okay, when you have
I have a
problems,
question.
go ahead.
Okay, so what all should the supervision include then?
What should the supervision include?
Yeah.
So what we were talking about before, modeling, training, supporting,
Okay.
giving feedback. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's just doing it more often is what's important, instead of, you know, just thinking, oh, you know, they're competent, you know, they don't need me to go. The more you go, the better. It'll just make the behavior plan more, the intervention more smooth. Okay, so when you have problems with staff performance, what is that usually due to?
Poor training.
Okay, and why is there poor training? You're on the right track.
Less observation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, let me break it down for you guys. How would the RBT feel if they had bad staff performance, bad problems, any problems that an RBT had due to their performance? Why are they feeling that? Why are they performing that way?
Maybe they're not motivated.
Lack
of
work.
feedback, yeah.
Maybe
Great
they
job,
didn't get the
Nadia.
competence-based.
Lack of motivation, lack of skills.
Mm.
And then that obviously would be because of, I forgot who it was that said that, lack of training.
Yeah, lack of competency-based training.
It was
Right,
Christine.
but Christina. Okay, so Christina, you were on the right track. Because an RBT has lack of motivation, lack of skills, is because they're not getting proper training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lack of feedback and stuff too.
Right, but it all comes down to this. So if they're not motivated and they don't have the skills, they're not going to perform well. And that's all due to them not having the training, them not having the support, them not getting feedback, all of that. It's all linked together. Everything is linked. Okay. K07, evaluate the effectiveness of the behavioral program. What should you do regularly, big hint here, to visually evaluate progress, and how often?
Graph
To
data.
According to Emily,
data analysis.
data.
Yes.
The data, Martin
Data.
said graph.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you guys think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
evaluate the
And how often?
Every minimum of every 2 weeks.
2
What's
weeks.
it's daily or weekly? I don't say every 2 weeks. That's kind of long time.
No, I think it's minimum of every 2 weeks, but recommended
Weekly.
Yeah.
Good job, Christina. Awesome. So it is graphing. Martin was right. Graph. And Christina, minimum every 2 weeks, but best practice is weekly. Awesome job. You guys are on a roll. All right, KO8, establish support for behavior analytics services from direct and indirect consumers. What should be done to establish support for behavior analytics services from direct and indirect consumers? We definitely talked about this in other meetings because I heard this one. It's 2 things, only 2 things.
The training? We talked about the parent training.
Okay, parent training is 1. What's the other one?
Buy-in?
I know this. Hold on. Wait. Team
What did you say,
meetings?
Nadia?
I say buy-in.
No. What did someone else say? I heard something else.
Team meetings?
Yes, team meetings. Parent trainings and team meetings. All right. K09, secure the support of others to maintain the client's behavioral repertoire in their natural environment. So how should you train caregivers to follow the treatment plan using what type of contingencies?
Well, if we wanted to generalize, we want to do natural, right?
Yeah, obviously it should be natural.
Yeah.
We have to do modeling and tease them.
Natural, of course.
Natural, perfect. Yeah, I put the contingencies on there because I wanted to make sure you guys were on the right track. But yes, naturally occurring contingencies. Right, because if you don't give them natural occurring contingencies, what happens? Are they going to follow through?
No.
No.
Are they going to be able to maintain that behavior that you guys work so hard for?
Right.
No, they're not. So we got to do something realistic that they're really going to follow through with, according to the family, right? All right, K10, arrange for the orderly termination of services when they are no longer required. So what is the criteria for termination?
If client mastered the skills,
Goals achieved.
yeah, goal is achieved.
Okay, goals are achieved. What else?
They're not benefiting.
Client requested for termination. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The services that's being conducted is harmful.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I think someone just said the last one.
Havarti, what did you say?
When the client requested for termination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job. So if client has shown progress, client has met goals and sufficient progress, and treatment problems. What happened here? Hold on a second. Okay. Client has not shown progress. Client has met goals and sufficient progress, and treatment has problems with proper implementation. Okay. Next question. Yeah, go ahead.
You don't want to put another one like request by the client to terminate services, or by the family, or
Request to terminate, of course.
Yeah, there's 4 total.
Request to terminate services by client. When is it okay that the client can do it?
it can be anything requested to terminate service by the client. So
Can a child do it?
well, the client means like the parents or not the client. Because
It's also
the
so
definition
30
of the, go
documentation.
ahead, sorry.
Is it an age thing?
Yeah, when they're overage.
Capability as
Overage or the caregiver. So if a 4-year-old tells you, get out of my house, I don't want you here anymore, you're not gonna terminate services. I know it sounds funny, but we just gotta make sure, because you know those are little trick questions that could come out here and there. We might miss it by a word that we didn't read. How should services be faded? Does anyone know?
You start cutting them, or lower them to half, I think. I don't know.
I saw what you highlighted, so I'm not gonna say it.
I know.
Well, you got good eyes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm staying quiet on it.
I was hoping you guys didn't see it, but
But I did.
all right.
But
I'm just gonna go for it.
We were so intrigued by your presentation, we couldn't stop watching.
I was gonna say, gosh,
So
I
it's
got
faded by 50% until you are no longer servicing the client.
I need bifocals for that.
Yeah, so you got to keep going 50% until you have nothing else. So first, well, usually it's you fade the RBT, then if you have a BCABA, then you fade them, and then you fade the BCBA at the end. But you keep fading until there's nothing left. And then the last one is, when should you refer the client to another agency?
when the client is not benefiting from your services,
When you can't provide the services because you're not have the proper training, I would think.
or you don't have enough time to provide services, you're too busy.
Okay.
When you can be effective.
All right. It's when you're moving, when you're unhappy with treatment, service, or service providers. And number 3 is client is not showing any progress. Okay, and then that is the last one. And then I'm going to do a trivia, but I have to close this and make a new